Today's starting off at a good pace already, I believe. So 8:40, out the door, headed to get a badass chest pump. It's relatively, well, okay, I can't really say that. I was about to say it's relatively warm. Yeah, not really. 5 degrees. Yeah, it was just 6 a second ago, even worse. It's a little chilly. It's a little bit chipper out. So that is where oh my God, I didn't know what I was missing. Remote start, like warm the car up before you get into it. This is fucking crazy. If you live somewhere warm, I guess it doesn't matter. I guess they would care about the reverse. They'd want to cool the car down before they get in. And I'm sure in the summertime, if there's a heat wave that happened last year again, then that'll be something that I guess I'll be able to take advantage of. But plan for this morning's lift is going to be some chest. I'm talking some cable press. I'm talking some flies. But I want to change it up. My last few chest days have all been very similar. I've been doing a lot of cable press, bent over. I haven't done it for a little while, where I put a bench in between the cables and press upward. That might be on the list. I haven't done plate-loaded chest press. That might be on the list as well. But there's also kind of a reason I haven't been doing some of these movements. There's a reason I haven't been doing heavy dumbbell or heavy Smith machine bench. And the reason I say heavy is because if I'm going to do a plate-loaded movement like that, like a machine chest press or a Smith machine barbell bench, or even dumbbells, the real juice from the squeeze of the set for me in those movements particularly is the fact that it is heavy. So if I'm not going to do a heavy set, I would much rather do a converging cable press with light weight that I can really squeeze and activate, rather than like 2 plates on Smith, because I'm just not really going to feel it as much. And the movement path, or the strength curve rather, on a lot of what you'd call basic movements is very basic. Heaviest at the bottom, lighter at the top. You're going to fail a squat at that bottom section. You're not going to get 80% of the way up and then suddenly, it's not moving. It's just not going to happen like that. So with a more cable-based movements, or like some machine chest presses and things, typically, at least, the weight actually gets heavier the more you do it, where you can really dig into a good squeeze and burn and relax into a nice, deeper stretch without worrying about ripping your pecs off. Not that, you should be worried about that all the time, but I'm going to feel much more comfortable really opening up my chest on a cable press or certain plate-loaded machines, because the weight gets lighter at the bottom. And, some people are going to hear that and say, well, don't you want maximum tension at the bottom? I mean, in the stretch position? And it's like, well, yeah, but also, maybe this is a me thing, because now I'm becoming a little more muscle-bound. I've only got a certain range of motion where I'm comfortable to take my chest. The videos where guys have basically a barbell with a bend in the middle of it, where it kind of looks like this, so that they can go deeper than their chest actually, whatever, the bar is going through their body essentially, because the metal is bent around out of the way. It would just be too deep. That's too much, so there is a limit of kind of feasibility there, which you've got to take into consideration. But either way, I guess what I'm trying to say is I'm going to try to change it up a little bit. I'll make sure I don't do everything exactly how I did last chest day or the chest day before that. But right now, heavy-ish pressing, it's just not exactly, it's not oriented towards what my goal is, which is get a pump, of course. So actually heavy pressing does let me get a pump, that's for sure. But maintain attachment of all my tendons and not hurt myself, that's where heavy bench kind of starts to lose me a little while. So I can, I've got much more, I don't want to say fear, but I've got much more respect for the weights now, I think, because I've hurt myself pretty well. I've had a lot of different muscle tears and pulls, nothing that ever required a surgical intervention, which is really lucky. And in doing so, it's I got You know, it's like you're on the highway or something. Or I don't remember who said this story. It would be like Bill Burr, and he falls asleep on the highway, and he wakes up, and like he's just sliding up against the median, and then he gets back in his lane. Like that's kind of how I feel with the heavy benching. Like I've oh, all right, we're good. Whoa, that's freaking scary. All right, I'm not going to do that again. So that's my lesson learned sort of approach there. You know, if I ever have a serious injury, I want you guys to dog on me harder than ever before, because that's totally my fault and it's freaking stupid. You know, so unless it was a complete freak accident and there was no predicting it at all, and it's like I just did, I don't even know. I don't even want to think about it. I don't want to put that energy out there. But if I ever hurt myself and it's my fault, oh my god, I don't want it to happen again. I should put a list, or like get a, I don't know what it, somehow have a counter days since last injury, and I never want it to reset. I want it to just keep ticking upward, because every time you tweak yourself, I mean, you're just taking multiple steps back. You got to pause your training, you got to recover. You might not be the same after. It just sucks, you know. So get hurt once, sometimes shame on you, and you it being like not yourself, but hurt yourself twice, that's shame on me. Like that's kind of, you know, you can't predict it all the time. Like sometimes I know a guy where he was doing 185, just regular working sets. Maybe he didn't warm up enough, maybe, I don't know, but the guy can bench 315 for reps, and 185 got him bruised up all over the place, like kind of that spirally sort of look. Like shit, sometimes you just never know. So be careful. I guess that's my word of advice there. Just be careful. You only get 2 pecs, and you only get 1 of each, and I don't want to mess with either one of them at this point. So how about we stop talking about it and then just get in there and make this lift freaking happen. All right, let's start with some seated cable converging chest press, kind of like I predicted, and actually exactly like I predicted. So light enough that I can squeeze it, but heavy enough I can feel it. It's a good sweet spot. All right, come on. All right. Whew. Whew. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, a few more just like that. Yeah, that's pretty much perfect. Yeah. Oh, okay, let's drop the weight a little bit. 150. Let's do 130 for the next one. There we go. There we go. Come on. Two more of those.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh. Okay. Holy crap. Okay. All right, let's do a set of pec decks and I think come back for a bent over cable press finish. And then we'll be golden. Let me get this freaking bench out of here. The stack will do just nicely here, I believe. All right. Oh yeah, I think just one cable press is gonna do it. Oh yeah. Let me see what I have the weight set at. I need 100. Yeah, 100 should be about right. Yeah, good. All right. Okay. Yeah. Okay. All right, that's all. Let's pose down. All friggin' done, that's for sure. How many sets was that? All right, so that was that 4 sets of cable press, 1 set of pec deck, 1 set of a different kind of cable press, 6 sets total. Yeah, that's kind of about what I'm looking for. I don't need so much more than that. I definitely don't think I need less. So I think that 6 range is pretty close to the sweet spot. But I'm feeling, oof, well, what's the point of talking about it if we can actually look at it firsthand right in front of us? But let me make sure I'm totally in freaking focus. Yeah, we're golden. All right, so let's run through a couple here. Oh my gosh. Well, that just got me a little lightheaded. Let's see, what else are we missing? It's freaking hard to hold a vacuum after lifting, that's for sure. So, let's see. Back unpumped. Oh my gosh. Yeah, so we're just about yeah. We're getting just about there, I think. So I do not feel like I have to rush at this point. Like, I'm not coming in here thinking like, shit, I'm not gonna make it. Like we had 5 weeks. So really, I feel like I'm just coasting at this point. I'm still sticking to my diet. I'm doing my cardio. I'm not slacking, but I'm not digging. I'll probably dig for like the last week pre-show or like 2 weeks out. Ease, like chill that last week, stay where I'm at into peak week and everything. But until then, I mean, I just kind of get to cruise at freaking, what's the word? I got the cruise control on, almost. Let's do just a few more. Whew, man. Yeah, shoulders are actually starting to look pretty freaking nuts. Let me see if I can reach around and do a side tricep. Come on. There we go. Yeah, I feel like it's crazy for me to see this much abs. Like I've never seen these lines back here right above where my lat inserts. Because like, look at this little triangle. We got lower back in the bottom, lat ties in right here, and then abs are creeping all the way up the freaking side. Oh, this is gonna be good. I'm getting a lot of comments, basically thinking, Sam, you screwed yourself. You're done. You're screwed. You're getting lean too early. And to that I say, well, whatever. But what I would want to kind of bring up as a counter argument is you would much rather be in my state right now than be like just about a month out from a big ass bodybuilding competition and think, shit, I'm not there yet, you know? And I kind of had that feeling for my first shows. Like, you know, I just didn't have a good gauge of how long it was going to take or anything. So the theme of this prep has been slow and steady. Slow and steady. Started a bit earlier, gave myself a few more months to ease into it. And I feel like I haven't had to really like wreck myself in terms of food. And like I'm doing 45 minutes of cardio in the morning and night, so an hour and a half, but a lower intensity than I had to do last prep. And last prep I was doing an hour in the morning and an hour at night. So 45 minutes on the treadmill, 3 miles an hour, 5% incline, extremely doable twice a day. Like that is not that crazy. So shit, I'm just excited to see myself like crazy pumped up. Morning weight, guess what my morning weight was this morning, right? Enter your number now. 230, 220, definitely not 220, but it was 226. So part of the reason for that was not that I'm like 3 pounds leaner. I don't like, you know, TMI, but it is part of the whole bodybuilding process. Something that I ate last night or sometime in the middle of yesterday, and I really have no idea what it was. I didn't eat anything weird that I haven't been eating, but my stomach was just gurgling, like just fucking, oh. Like I'm getting ready to go to bed. It's like 10 o'clock at night. I feel like just bloated, and I'm like, oh, I'm hearing it just gurgle. So after a good 45 minutes of, you know, just some private time in the bathroom, yeah, I'm not trying to be gross here, but if you do have a slightly more liquid side of things and your stomach's really upset or you had something fucking with you, that's going to draw a lot of water out of your system. You know, that's why when people say if you have like food poisoning or you're sick with something and it's like destroying your gut, you have got to slam like Gatorades or electrolyte drinks just to replenish all those fluids. So really this morning I just woke up a little bit dehydrated, probably. So I still had 2 liters of water pre-workout, or 1.5 liters, but it takes a little while to actually get that where it belongs. So really I was just about 2 pounds lighter from being slightly, you know, water depleted just a little bit. So that kind of adds to a little bit of this kind of dry freak factor, because that's what I'm going to do for the show. Prep day or prep week, peak week, is fluctuate my water so that this intra skin above the muscle layer of subcutaneous fats and whatever can thin out. And then when I eat a bunch of carbs and a good chunk of water as well to go with it, I fill up all my muscle cells, but that skin layer stays thin and dry. So it'll just make me look like a total nutcase. But yeah, that's all I got. I've got a little bit of a pit stop at FedEx. So let's freaking go head over there first before cardio. There we go. Yeah, that was a quick one. That really didn't take too much. And I guess that was kind of similar to, well, I don't know. It was a little different. I mean, I did do a bit more of the back supported chest press instead of just kind of free form, like bent over. And with those, I don't know if you noticed, but I made not a big fuss, but I was putting a lot of focus on making sure that as I actually like sat down on the bench, I sort of had a readjustment of my posture and really sucked my shoulders back and put my chest way up. That movement in particular is probably the best pressing chest activation that I get, at least in terms of like efficiency, you know. So maybe if I'm doing a hammer strength or like the Arsenal press with like 4 plates on it, maybe I'm getting more engagement because there's just more weight lift, you know, more tension in my chest. But not the same as that cable, just because I can really kind of like, what the fuck? Jesus, this person's driving like crazy. But I can really like feel like I'm pulling from my chest and not just pushing with my hands or really using any front delt at all. So by doing that and keeping my hands turned so I'm pressing like palms up instead of like, you know, knuckles to knuckle, that also helps me keep my chest be the primary mover and my front delts and my forearms and my triceps basically totally out of it. You know, like for me to even do this motion of the cable press where I'm pressing in like this, how are my triceps going to help? If I straighten my triceps and I flex them, it's just going to pull the weight out and like further away from me. So if you're doing a like essentially a fixed path press, like with a barbell or some chest press machines, even a little bit of dumbbell, but not as much. Dumbbell is still a little bit better. You can really leverage your triceps to move the weight instead of just having to rely on your chest. So, you know, as much as I would say get better at activating your chest, I would also say, you know, maybe kind of adjust your workout accordingly so you have at least a few movements in the lift where your triceps don't even really come into play at all, just because they wouldn't help with the movement. You know what I'm saying? So if you're doing a leg press and maybe this particular leg press for you feel a ton of glutes, like you're getting insane glute activation. I used to get that a lot, to the point where I stopped even doing leg press because all I would do is like get my glutes firing like crazy, and I want to hit quads. So I would just do a lot of leg extensions, just squats, because leg press wasn't hitting the targeted muscle I was aiming for. You know, I was just burning out my freaking glutes, and I'm not trying to work my posterior chain like that. You know, that's not neither for size or strength is that a benefit for me. I want bigger legs in terms of like the trunk aspect of them, not up in my midsection. If anything, I want more of that Ramon Dino kind of look with very dominant limbs. And I want everything in my kind of midsection, waist, you know, kind of glutes included, to be a little more trim, you know? So that's kind of my thoughts on the matter there. But I'm excited to go back and edit that together. I definitely feel like I gotta up my hydration game. I gotta up my hydration game when I get home, which is gonna be pretty easy. All I gotta do is get like a gallon of, or not a gallon, but like a 2-liter bottle of something or other, mix it up with some electrolytes, sugar-free of course, and then basically just try to chug the whole thing. You know, not necessarily as quickly as possible, but it's more fluids will never hurt. I think I can say that with a pretty high freaking degree of certainty. So I'm gonna go ahead and finish my chores, come back home to the house in the basement, do the bike for cardio. I did the treadmill last night. I think I'm gonna alternate bike then treadmill, at least every session. So if I did the treadmill this morning, then I would do the bike tonight,
or vice versa. I think that'll be a good balance, just to make sure I don't overdo it on any one particular kind of method. But yeah, it puts us at 37 days out, man. It's only 5 weeks, so it's most certainly crunch time. I'm sure if anybody, and they're all pros, so they know what they're doing, of course, but I'm sure anybody who's a little off track on their diet is probably thinking, all right, shit, I gotta really lock it in right now. You know, a little extra cardio, a little less calories, they gotta drop their carb values. But yeah, I can guarantee everybody who shows up to the Arnold, amateur included, are all gonna be freaking freaks. So if you've never been, I would highly recommend it, especially if you've never been to a show and an expo. Like, you know, sure, if you've been to a fit expo, you get the gist of what that's like. The Arnold blows it. Well, I don't want to say that's, the Arnold takes it to another level for sure. So I'm freaking spoiled that I'd say probably one of, if not the best expo in the world, bodybuilding wise and fitness, is 30 minutes away from my house. But the show as well is freaking crazy too, and that was my favorite part of actually getting to do the Arnold Amateur last year. Was they put us on the same stage as the big guys. It was the day before, so obviously the not the stadium, but the hall wasn't like completely full. It was about like 25% full compared to the pro show, but still, actually just being up there, it was. Yeah, they really do it well. So if you're around, or if you can make time, I think March 6th through the 9th, that's Arnold weekend. If you can make it, I would highly recommend it, that's for sure. So I think that's all I got. I'll see you for tomorrow.